You're 91.
I'm 91.
Good health.
I couldn't be in better health. It's a little discouraging to me that my partner in business life, everything else, Charlie Munger, is 98.
Still going strong?
I'm still the kid.
You have a successor in place?
We have a successor in place, but he's not warming up.
You're not ready to go.
I'm still in overtime, but I'm out there.
You still tap dance to work?
I tap dance to work, Charlie. I've always been happy in the work, but I've never been happier. I've got the most interesting, to me, job in the world. I've got people you wouldn't believe that support me. We like each other and everybody helps me.
Choosing who you work with.
It's everything. Choosing what you do and who you do it with. If you're like me, you're gonna spend 70 years or something. My assistant hasn't worked the whole time with me, but she went to work for Berkshire when she was 17, and she still looks 17. She'll be with us 50 years here pretty soon. They know me forward and backwards, and they accept my eccentricities. They help me.
Walk me through a typical day.
I get up usually at a few minutes before 7, so I can catch, it's the 7 o'clock news, and I always turn on CNBC. I look at what prices are doing and what's happening in Europe and what's happening in Japan. And I call Mark at 8 with the market opening at 8:30, and I tell him exactly what to do for the day. And I probably won't change it during the day. And it's usually a percentage of something. I will say buy or sell X percent of the trading volume, and I'll give him a list of things. If there's a limit of price, I give him the price. And then he does it all day. And I don't need to check with him. And he sometimes does billions of dollars worth of business. He buys the treasury bills in the last couple of years.
Have a bunch.
We probably bought $5 billion every Monday. We might be the biggest buyer. Just week after week after week after week.
You made your first investment when you were 11 years old?
In 1942, 80 years ago, I took $114.75 every penny I saved. I bought 3 shares of City Service Preferred, and City Service was a pretty well-known name down then. In fact, in 1920, City Service, I think, was the 4th largest company in the United States in terms of number of shareholders. So it had a preferred stock that was selling at 38 that had started skipping the dividends during the Depression. So it accumulated dividends on it of 60 or 70 bucks. And of course, it was par value of $100 too, and it was selling at 38. And at breakfast one morning, I follow little stocks every day, but then I made my plunge, and I had roughly this amount of money, so I bought 3. I don't remember this precisely, but I think I told my dad in the morning, "Now, let's move, Dad." Pop, I call it. But I really had read every book in the Omaha Public Library that was on the stock market.
By 11?
By 11, I'll guarantee you. And some of them twice. I started out reading the ones in my dad's office. I just love to read. I read other things too. I knew more when I was 11 than I know now. I mean, in terms of the actual mechanics of the stock. I mean,
what is it you enjoyed the most about it? Because you don't pick stocks, you pick companies.
Yeah, but when I was 11, I picked stocks. I had the whole wrong idea. I was interested in watching stocks, and I thought stocks were things that went up and down, and I charted them. I read books on technical analysis. I read Edwards and Mickey. I think that was the classic then. Hundreds and hundreds of pages. And I read that whole thing over and over again. I read Garfield, Drew, I read everything. I thought the first 8 years, I thought the important thing was to predict what a stock would do and predict the stock market. And I realized that I was doing it exactly the wrong way. And from that point, I never bought another stock. I bought businesses that happened to be publicly traded, but I became an owner of a business. And I did not care whether a stock went up or down the next day or the next week or the next month or the next year. And I didn't have any idea what it would do. I didn't know what the stock market would do, but I knew businesses.
I've asked people about your genius, whatever we describe it.
No, I'm a bright guy who's terribly interested in what he does. So I've spent a lifetime doing it, and I've surrounded myself with people that bring out the best in me. And you don't need to be a genius in what I do. That's the good thing about it. If I went into physics There's a whole lot of other subjects I'd be an also ran. But I am in a game that you don't need. You probably need 120 points of IQ, but 170 doesn't do any better than 120. It may do worse, probably do worse. You don't really need brains.
What do you need?
You need the right orientation. 90% of the people, I'm pulling a figure out of the air, but 90% of the people that buy stocks don't think of them the right way. They think about something that they hope goes up next week. And they think about the market as something they hope goes up. And if it's down, they feel worse. I feel better.
And what do you think
I think about what the company's going to be worth 10 or 20 years from now. And I hope it goes down when I buy it because I'll buy more.
Do you have a killer instinct?
Nah, not exactly. I've got, I wouldn't call it a killer instinct, but I do know this. When I want to do something, I always want to do it big.
What does that mean?
I put my whole net worth in City Service Preferred, since that day, and March 11th, 1942. I have never had less than 80% of my money in American business. You can call them stocks.
Or equities.
But I see them as American business. I don't want to own anything else. I want to own a home and things my family wants and all that. But owning 5 homes doesn't mean anything to me because I'm going to be happy in one home, and there's a certain amount of things that go wrong with everything. And if I got 2 homes, I know I've got more problems and I don't have more happiness.
What brings you the happiness?
I would have to honestly say that what makes me happiest is what I'm doing. I enjoy 2 things about it. One, I know I'll win over time. That doesn't mean I'll beat everybody else or anything like that. I mean, the game is very, very, very easy if you have the right lessons in your mind about what you're buying. I'm not buying stocks. I'm buying pieces of overwhelmingly American business. And I'm happy when that's when I'm doing it. I'm happier when stocks are going down because I can buy more of them with the same amount of money. I'd be happy if I was a farmer. I'd want farmland to go down so I could buy more acreage. I mean, it just makes sense. And I'll tell you the second thing I really like. I like being trusted by people. I would rather do what I do with partners than do it sitting in a room myself, even though I might make more money that way.
You like the idea that people are trusting you with their savings.
Yeah, they just say, look, I've saved money, I don't know what to do with it. And
I trust you.
And they give it to me. Most of them give it to me certainly in the original days, but even now to an unusual degree. They never quit saving. I mean, I'm sort of their savings machine.
They save it and then give it to you.
Yeah, and then they say, keep it, and just keep building it. And they don't do it with the idea they're going to retire when they're 65 and then build great castles or anything like that. A few do. I mean, a few spend some money later on. If they've been saving when they were 25 and saved a little money and gave it to me, they're still saving. There were 11 doctors that we met at a Hilltop House. There was one friend of mine named Bill Angle, and he was trying to get these other doctors to join with me. So, I don't know when it was, 1958 or 9. He invited 12 doctors to this dinner, Hilltop House, and he had me come. And he basically said, this is my friend Warren, and if you got any brains, you'll give him some money. And so we spent the evening, and these guys were all probably in their low 30s. And 11 of the 12 put in $10,000 each. The 12th said to Bill, he said, well, what happens if we lose our money? And my friend Bill, I'll never forget it, he said, well, dummy. He says, we'll form another partnership. That was the guy that didn't invest. He got reminded of this by the other 11 for the rest of his life. And those people stuck with me. And one of them died in the last year. But 2 of the other 11, 2 of them are still alive. And the money and the amount of money, I mean, they haven't built. They could have done anything. I mean, they could have lived bigger than anybody in Nebraska. They went with the lives they liked.
And so have you.
Yeah.
So have you.
Yeah.
You live in the same house you've lived in for...
I've lived in the same house. I bought it in 1958. That's about 63 or 64 years. I've lived a quarter of the life of the country in one house. And I like being 5 minutes from the office, too. I mean, just think if I had a 35-minute commute. I've gone to the same office now since January of 62. It's been 60 years. let's say I save 30 minutes every day and commute, each way.